Hello, this is Sabine Minsky. Welcome to Your Spirited Life. Today I am joined by Jennifer Hadley. She is a teacher, a spiritual counselor. She delivers doses of spiritual espresso to her community every day. And she has also been leading for the past 5 years a Course in Miracles radio show. Welcome.
Thank you, Sabine. I'm so happy to be here. I just absolutely love this topic. I think it's so helpful what you're doing.
Thanks, and I look forward to delving into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you come into the realm of teaching spirituality and guiding others?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I can tell you that in my 20s, I really reached a point where I was miserable, wanted to kill myself literally, and I discovered spirituality, and it helped me to dig out of a really black hole I was in. And I fell in love with spirituality and began to read and study and take classes and workshops and retreats like many of us do. And one thing led to another, and I became a spiritual practitioner in the Agape community with Michael Beckwith in Los Angeles. And the spiritual practitioner is really a spiritual counselor. And that was 4 years of training, and then I did another 5 years of training to become a minister. I started my own spiritual community in Los Angeles and a spiritual community online. And so currently I have a spiritual community online worldwide. We've got people participating from over 100 countries around the world. And I offer a mixture of free classes and the radio show like you talked about, and also very clear curriculum on how to live these principles and apply them in your life so that you really are successful with them. So I started from this place of really being lost, feeling miserable, feeling hopeless and helpless, and really feeling like there was something incredibly wrong with me that I couldn't decipher. I couldn't quite get to the bottom of it. And it just felt like no matter what I did, in my work, in my relationships, in my friendships, in my body, I always felt like there was something wrong with me. And I couldn't quite identify exactly what was the root cause. And I felt like I couldn't heal it.
Yeah.
No matter what I did, and it was really discouraging for me. But I didn't give up. I felt that spirituality was my best hope of breaking through. And I began to really focus on being of service. I call it being of service to the light. And so through that focus of being of service to others and training my mind to see others as perfect, I began to have breakthroughs, and my mind really began to open up to, we could say, the company of heaven, angels, ascended masters, guides, and that kind of thing. But really my higher self, I began to have a real relationship with God, with my higher self. And I began to get clear instruction, because I was asking for it every single day, clear instruction of what to do, how to do it, in order to heal my mind of this idea that there was something wrong with me. I began to see that idea that there was something wrong with me was incorrect, but I had so much proof of it in my world. And so I began to really focus on working with my mind and healing at the level of the mind. So I really began to put into practice what many people study, but do not actually put into practice. And that is that this world is a manifestation of our thinking, that what we experience is what we believe. So instead of trying to change things out there in the world, I decided to really focus on changing everything in here. So I took my focus and I put it way inside and started looking at each thought and what was it a loving thought? Was it an unloving thought? Was it useful to me? Why did I like it? I really began to do the deep and tools that I could use to quickly do the healing work without having to do a lot of analysis, because I had therapy, I had spiritual therapy, and I had been examining things for literally decades by the point that I really started to open up my mind. And so I found some really terrific speed healing methods, and I began to apply them very, very assiduously. And so that brought me to what I teach now.
So Jennifer, I was wondering, and thank you for sharing so openly your path. I was wondering if you would have a message for those who really feel like they're still in that space of something is wrong with me, and who haven't cracked up the light inside yet, and who might, be really in need of some words of guidance.
The biggest challenge that I see, Sabine, for a lot of spiritual students who are very ambitious and very willing is that they don't recognize, and it's not because they're spiritually stupid, which I used to feel spiritually stupid every day, and it's not because there's something wrong with them. It's just they haven't recognized, because it's not really talked about, they haven't recognized that they're studying and studying and studying. They're reading books, taking workshops, going to classes, taking notes, having all these spiritual conversations, participating in spiritual community. All of this work that they're doing, and a lot of it is actually quite intellectual.
Yeah.
And gathering information simply is not healing to our spiritual life. It's just not. The intellect is actually the avenue of the ego. So when we're collecting information, studying all these books and classes and techniques and workshops, without assiduously applying them, without really pouring our heart into applying them and doing the deep inner work and connecting with spirit, then we're just feeding the intellect, which takes us further and further away from true spiritual healing and that true spiritual connection. So that's the thing that I found, is that there are many, many blocks to spirit that we hold on to in the intellect, and we don't even realize it. We move into this space of trying to become more spiritually superior than our previous self, than others, and thinking that if we have these advanced spiritual classes and read these advanced spiritual books, that somehow it's going to advance us, but it just doesn't, unless we do the real unblocking inner work. So that's why I focus entirely on that now. I really, really do. And I find that people have amazing, quickened success when they're willing to do it.
I love how you just said pouring our heart into it. I mean, that's the huge thing, is going from here to our hearts. I can't see it on the video, but that's really it. It's instead of playing around in the circuits of our brain and soothing our brain and faking that we're advancing, it's shifting into that. And how do you invite people to do that?
Well, the thing is I'm a Course in Miracles student and a Course in Miracles teacher, and that's what my radio show focus is. And I break down A Course in Miracles to make it very practical for people to understand it and apply it and live it.
And for those who don't know what it is yet, could you give us a small preview?
Sure. So A Course in Miracles is it's a big book that is a channeled book. And back in the 60s, there was a woman who was a professor at Columbia University in the psychology department, a Jewish woman. And she started to receive these messages in her mind, and the voice was Jesus. And Jesus instructed her to take down what he was saying, and that he would help her solve her considerable emotional and relationship challenges. And so she began to take it down. They call her the scribe of the course, and she wrote it down in shorthand, and then she collaborated with the head of the psychology department at Columbia, and the two of them transcribed the whole thing and published it. So it's quite a huge book. A lot of it's written in iambic pentameter, which helps you to realize that this Jewish woman, she couldn't have conceived of this incredibly beautiful, articulate, and very circular teaching. But the teaching of A Course in Miracles is, there are 365 lessons, one for every day of the year, in how to heal your mind of belief in lack, limitation, not enough, something's wrong with me. So it's a very specific curriculum in how to heal your mind. And so I began to study that after I finished my ministerial training. And I just fell in love with the voice in the book and the teachings in the book. I find that they're extremely useful and helpful when you apply them. And so the main teaching of A Course in Miracles, it's teachings of Jesus. So of course the main teaching really is forgiveness and non-judgment. And that really, truly, that's what forgiveness is. It's releasing our judgment. It's releasing our interpretations of the past. Forgiveness is releasing the meaning that we made of things in the past. And I began teaching forgiveness back in 2000. So that was 16 years ago. And right away in teaching forgiveness, I realized that that's what forgiveness is. It's the release of the meaning we made of things. Because so many people were coming to my workshops and teachings on forgiveness, and they would say, Jennifer, I was molested by my father, my uncle, my grandfather. I was betrayed by my spouse. She left me for my best friend. My best friend and I were in business together, and she completely ripped me off. All these kinds of stories again and again and again, where people had these intense betrayals, and they say, I have forgiven this so many times, but it still eats me up. It still bothers me. It's still like a splinter in my mind that I can't get rid of, and I just want to be happy again. I'd like to be peaceful. I'd like to feel harmonious. I'd like to feel like I can move forward. And so one of the things that I teach in the forgiveness is you can't move forward. You can't get that splinter out of your mind until you really are willing to change your mind about that and just say, okay, this happened. I don't like it, but I don't know what it's for. It's to teach me something. I don't know what that is, but I'm willing to learn whatever this teaching is that's encoded into this experience so that I don't have to keep repeating it in my mind, and I don't have to keep repeating it in my life. Because many times when people have something that they haven't forgiven from the past, they either repeat it again and again, just like a hamster on a wheel in their mind, or they're repeating it in their experience again and again and again. It's what happens is our higher self just keeps representing the opportunity to release the meaning we made of it, to release the judgment. And that's why it seems like we're on a hamster wheel, just spinning the same thoughts again and again. It's every time it comes into our awareness is that opportunity to choose again, and this time to choose with compassion, to choose to let go of the meaning we made of it, our interpretation of the experience, the past, and what happened. Because the truth is, with many things in our life, In fact, most things, we don't actually know what they're for. We can say we do, we can think we do, but that doesn't mean we actually know what they're for. And so everything is useful, everything is valuable, everything is to teach us something. But if we think we know that it came to hurt us, it came to ruin us, it came to bother us or destroy us, or it came to wipe us out in some way, then we don't actually know the true spiritual meaning of what happened. So then we're stuck repeating again and again and again, like I said, in our heart and mind or out there in the world. We'll keep repeating it until we're willing to say, I just don't know what this is for. But I'd like to harvest all the learning that's encoded into it and move the heck on. And I am willing to do that now. So we have to be willing to let go of our interpretation of it and just really stand in that place of Spirit knows what this is for, and my personality does not. So I'm going to defer to Spirit and allow Spirit to show me what it's for. And then what happens is it becomes like rocket fuel. Literally, it becomes rocket fuel for our healing, for our career expansion, our relationship expansion, our financial expansion. Anybody who's struggling financially is got real forgiveness work to do. Anyone.
Do you want to tell us more about that?
Well, sure, because here's the thing. If you're harboring resentments and regrets in your heart, then your heart is full of trash, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to be, you won't feel that you are deserving of people's good treatment. You will not feel worthy of being in the flow of love and abundance and prosperity and wisdom and creativity and clarity and wholeness and healing and harmony and all the good things of life, because instead of being available for that, your little treasure is the trash. So we fill up our heart and our mind with these judgments, these opinions, these attack thoughts. It's all, I call it trash, mental, emotional trash. And we cling to it. There are little trash treasures, you know, and it's just a bunch of junk, really. And we think we can't get over it. We think we have to hold on to it, because if we don't hold on to it, people will just do that stuff to us again, which is not true. As long as we're holding on to it and reviewing it in our mind and heart all the time, it is happening again. We're the ones who are doing it to ourselves. So the ego mind thinks, I'm holding on to this right in front of me all the time, so I never forget what was done to me. But our healing and moving on requires that we relinquish that treasure and open ourselves to the flow of love and prosperity. Mm-hmm. So it's quite interesting, Sabine. What I have found for sure is that as soon as people start to do real forgiveness work, and it's not easy, it is not easy, it's not for the timid, but it is for the people who are determined to be of service in this world. Like I said, the big turning point for me was I realized, okay, I've got all these issues. I do not know how to heal them. I've been struggling and making small progress for a long time, but I know that there is a much greater progress that is available to me if I can just figure out how to access it. And I'm willing to have that be revealed to me. So I had to make room in my heart and my mind. I had to take out the trash. So I became very focused on that and very focused on being of service, sharing what I was learning with anyone who was interested in listening to me. So I started just giving away lots of free classes, daily inspiration, recording daily prayers. So I've been doing that for years. I've recorded thousands of prayers, and it's all free, you know, and I love to share it. It's my joy to share it. I'm not sharing it in order to get something back. I'm sharing it because I can't contain myself. I'm so excited about what I'm sharing. And this is the thing is, there are so many light workers, so many beautiful spiritual people who are stuck in this unforgiveness. And then they're wondering, why, oh, why can I not get my business going? Why is my coaching business, my whatever spiritual business, or even just creative, beautiful, helping business, why can't I get it going? Why can't I really be a true success? And the answer to that is that if you harbor all this trash, all these resentments and regrets, the guilt and the blame and the shame, and it's a real part of your daily experience, and you're not willing to let go of the judgments against yourself and against other people, then you can't help it. Whenever you're working with a client, you will be, literally, you'll be teaching that it's okay to harbor all that stuff. It's okay to hold on to it. You don't have to let it go. And so a lot of really beautiful spiritual teachers and way showers are stuck in this place that they don't even know what's really going on. And this is part of why I share so much and so freely, is because it's not rocket science. It's just they haven't quite seen that these resentments and regrets, the guilt, the blame, and the shame are literally blocking the flow in their life. I mean, let's face it, we all know spiritual teachers who have a lot of talent, a lot of insight, a lot of beauty to them, but we can see that they're still holding on to their judgments and their opinions and their attack thoughts against themselves and others. And so what they're doing, as we all do, is they're teaching the efficacy of what they do. And so a lot of spiritual teachers are kind of sort of saying, do what I say, but not what I do. And that's so old. That's so old that the spiritual teacher is not authentic, not keeping it real. So I keep it really real. I don't pretend I don't have any judgments anymore. I have judgments that come up every single day. I still get annoyed and frustrated and irritated, but it doesn't run my life, and I am not interested in holding on to those judgments. So as soon as I recognize I have one, I'm like, oh, I can give that to spirit, have a healing, and take out some trash today. Woohoo! And then I'm excited. And so for me, it's the combination of really dedicating myself to being of service and recognizing that the single greatest act of service I can perform today is to heal my mind. Because all minds are joined together. We're one with each other. So when I take out the trash, everybody has less trash.
I love that. Thank you. Such, a powerful vision. I find it just really amazing how we get stuck in ruts. And you really touched that. But somehow there's that, I don't know if you'll agree with this, this feeling that I have, that when we talk of that flow, and you've touched upon letting things flow, it's really important to emphasize how our shit will still come up. We'll have judgments, etc., as you said, on a daily basis. But the flow isn't that everything just turns magical. It's that we decide to let it go continuously. Like showering ourselves. Some people will do that with energy. Some people will, whatever speaks to you, just letting it flow continuously. Because we are not what goes on, 24/7 in the little hamster wheel.
Yeah, exactly. So our pure nature is love. We're born of love. Love is all that there is. Love is the ground of our being, as Deepak Chopra might say. And so love is the essence of everything. And it's our natural state. So only love is going to heal us. Only being willing to be in tune with love is going to heal us. So Course in Miracles says we don't have to seek for love. We only have to let go of all the blocks that we hold on to, the blocks to love. So that's the thing, is we can be in the flow of love all the time. It's our choice. When we hold a resentment or a regret, any kind of thought like that, that's our opinion, our judgment, we're saying, I would rather have this little treasure here than have the flow of abundance and prosperity. I'd rather have this little treasure here than insight and wisdom and clarity. And the thing is everyone knows everything because we share the same mind. We think we can have private thoughts, but as A Course in Miracles says so beautifully, there are no private thoughts. If you share the same mind with everyone, how can you have a private thought? But we delude ourselves into thinking we're separate, and separate from God, separate from each other, and therefore I can have my private thoughts and no one will know what I'm thinking. But the truth is, on some level of awareness, everyone knows. You can't hide anything. And my favorite, I'm not a Christian. I wasn't raised a Christian, but obviously I love the teachings of Jesus. I love the teachings of Buddha and many other spiritual teachings. And Jesus said when he walked the earth, if I be lifted up, I draw all unto me. And so that was the thing that I kind of hung my spiritual hat on. I said, okay, I would like to be of service in this world as a spiritual teacher. I can see that is my greatest heart's desire. In order for me to be an effective spiritual teacher, I must first heal myself. Healer, heal thyself. So I took that as my solemn opportunity, my joyful opportunity, and my sincere desire was to put every egg in that basket. And so I realized, okay, if I lift my heart up for healing, if I allow myself to release all the weights of my opinions and my judgments and my resentments and my regrets and my hurts and my wounds, and I give it all up for healing, and I actually do the healing work. And remember, I was being shown how to do and what to do. And if I really follow through on this, even though there were times when it was so gnarly, it's just really not easy. I mean, seriously not easy and exhausting at times. But I just kept going, and I kept going, and I realized that I was feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. And I actually, ultimately, it took a couple of years, but I reached a tipping point where since then, I really have felt peaceful most of the time. And when I don't feel peaceful, I can see very clearly, it's because I'm treasuring a piece of trash, and I can give it to the higher self for healing. And this is the thing that has put me in the flow. So literally, I find that I do magnetize people to me. And I ask people all the time, how did you find me? How did you discover me? And they'll say, sometimes I wonder, somehow I was led to you, or there was a miracle. I got this email somehow from you in my inbox. I don't know how it arrived. And, or they'll say, I saw something that you were doing with some other spiritual teacher, and, and I was subscribed to them, and then I heard your voice and I knew you were my teacher. So you see, while certainly marketing is valuable, I want to let people know you're there and not hide, but spirit will take over. But you really have to be pure of heart and pure of intent, which doesn't mean that you still don't have a lot of work to do. It just means that you're not really working to get something from people so that they'll financially support you. Because if you're doing that, then you don't believe that spirit is your source. And then you'll just keep experiencing that thought that you don't have enough, that there's lack and limitation. And that's a major thing that most of us spiritual students who would like to be spiritual healers and teachers and whatnot, we have to recognize that we don't actually believe God is our source. We think our clients are our source, our students are our source, or something like that. And then we're just giving to them in order to get something back from them. And there's just no love in that.
Those are powerful, almost like an invitation to reconsider and to. We're entering a new year. We're putting out new programs, etc. For all of us listening on this call who are healers or coaches, etc. And it's always good to take a step back and be like, how am I functioning right now? What am I bringing forward through myself to others? Thank you for that. Almost a little warning or just an invitation. Let's call it an invitation.
Yeah.
One thing that I was wondering through you explaining how, we need to calm the mind, go through the heart, as we were saying beforehand, and clean up our trash, is how much of that cleaning up of the trash comes also through interaction or action, in the sense of, yes, I'm looking deep inside, but we're talking about some patterns that come back into our lives, some relationships that are either a repeat of something else we've already lived, or they're same relationships if it's our family, etc. So how much of it goes on inside to clear up and change the vibe, and how much of it is actually a need for a new interaction? How, in what sequence do you see these? Are they meshed up together?
Can you give an example of a new interaction?
Oh, in the sense of if the first thing I tell my husband when he comes home, because I'm like fed up with what we're living, etc., is okay, time to take care of the kids or something, and I see myself with that resentment inside because I'm at home. This is not my situation. I'm just making it up. But how much of it is going deep within, seeing, okay, I'm like in an impatient state. I have so much resentment and I haven't dealt with it. And how much of it is, how do I change that in my daily occurrences?
Yeah, well, first of all, healing can only happen in the now moment. It can only happen in this very second. And that's the opportunity that's available in every moment. So even if you missed every healing opportunity today, you can take this one that's right here. And so anytime there's any kind of irritation, frustration, upset, any kind of sadness or depression, any kind of discordancy, disharmony, whatsoever, it's a healing opportunity. It means that your mind has got a hold of an old thought, an old pattern that is not true and not helpful. There's a piece of trash that's available for taking out. So you can either manage and cope with the upset, the irritation, the frustration, and just try to meditate or pray it away. But if you're really willing to say, okay, there's a pattern here, there's a belief here that I just don't need anymore. Something is like a splinter in my mind, and I am going to give it to the higher self for healing right now. We don't actually even have to know what it is. We don't have to look at it deeply. And we need to be careful too about looking at it too closely and too deeply, because we can become enamored of the analytical distraction, the distraction of analyzing our past, our history, our thoughts. So there's really, until you get the hang of it, there's delicate balance between the unhealthy analysis of the past, the paralysis of analysis, if you will, and really just being present to what is the opportunity to choose love, what is the old pattern that doesn't serve anymore, and being able to consciously recognize, oh, okay, there's another version of the pattern of I'm not good enough. There's another version of the pattern that something's wrong with me. There's another version of the pattern that I don't deserve, that I'm stupid, bad, or wrong, or whatever it is. Well, there it is again. It's just not true. I'm going to let that pattern go. I'm willing to have a healing about that pattern and move on. We don't have to write a book about the past, because our spirit already knows the path of healing, and the ego mind that wants to analyze everything has no idea what healing is, and will actually do everything it can to keep us recycling the past, and even in a self-help way. That's one of the things that I know it seems kind of obvious, but we don't actually need improvement. We just need to let go of any idea that we need improvement.
I love that, because it is something that an onus that we put on our shoulders so often on our spiritual path is, I need to grow and improve. And there's a switch that will happen of, I need to let go.
Yeah. And
I'm so thankful for what you just said, because it goes back to how we started our interview, which is, studying and going into the brain, and whether it be studying outside, methods of healing, classes, etc., workshops, or studying our patterns in such an analytical way, it comes back to the same thing. We're focusing too much on our mind.
Right.
And that's like a circular movement that doesn't serve us. So I'm really happy that you touched upon that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, you'll be sharing with our listeners a forgiveness workshop. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about that.
Thanks for asking me, Sabine. I love to give away these free things. And so I have a free forgiveness workshop. It's called How to Get Over It. And what I can tell you is I was a grudge holder. I really was. I was someone that I really believed that holding on to these grudges really tightly would somehow protect me from getting hurt again. And I didn't realize that the way to protect myself from getting hurt again is to really hold no grudges whatsoever and have my heart be fully open. And the more open my heart is, the less I can even possibly get hurt. It's so it's not counterintuitive, it's counter ego. Because our intuition really would like us to be open-hearted. So, because our intuition comes from our higher self. So, and I remember back when I was in my late 20s, I lived in Manhattan, and I was walking in Central Park with my best friend, and I was complaining for the billionth time about my family and how they didn't love me the way I wanted to be loved, or something like that. And my friend, having heard the story 100,000 times, he said, "Honey, you just have to get over it." And so I shot and killed him. And, that had a lot of, no, I didn't shoot him. But I wanted to. I really wanted to. I just wanted to choke him and grab him by the shoulders and say, don't you think if I knew how to get over it, I would get over it? It just was so like, I don't know how to get over it. That's why I keep talking about it. I don't know how to get over it. Don't tell me how to get over it. If I knew, I would. And so once I started teaching forgiveness and I learned how to get over things really quickly, then I made this workshop, and I give it away free.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's really got step-by-step instructions. It's not just a talk. Mm-hmm. So it's a real workshop. And what I invite your beautiful people to do is to get the free download, and it comes with a video and things you can print out and whatnot. And do yourself a favor. Gather a couple of friends and make a point of it. Like, oh, we're going to do this on Saturday night. We're going to do this on Saturday afternoon. We're going to make a day of it. And we're going to have food. And then you can sit and listen and pause and discuss and do the work together. Bring your notebooks and whatnot. And you can really have an amazing healing. I can't tell you, Sabine, how many people have written to me to thank me because they've had issues that were bothering them for years, even a decade, where they just couldn't get over something, some relationship breakup, some work debacle, and they are just in pain, and they're so tired of being, they're sick of being in pain about it, and they couldn't figure out how to get over it. And they felt like they had forgiven and forgiven and forgiven, but they really hadn't. And so they just started to think there was just something terribly wrong with them. And in just one, couple hours of doing the work and listening to the workshop, they felt 100 times lighter. And yeah, someone just told me the other day, she listens to it all the way to work and all the way home. And she's been doing that for a week, and she just feels like she's had so much healing. So, but it's actually doing the work. It's not just listening to it. And she has been doing the work. So it doesn't cost you anything to do it. It just doesn't cost you a dime, but it can actually open up the flow of prosperity and relationship healing in your life. And that's such a beautiful thing. A lot of people haven't been able to move on from broken romances, and people just find they can move right on when they do this work.
Jennifer, thank you. I mean, your energy, it just vibes through or shines through, and I myself, through our conversation, have had little moments of sighs of relief inside. So thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Sabine. God bless you and your beautiful work you're doing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.